Well, good morning, everybody. How are you today? It's Lisa Copeland, and as promised, back by popular demand, the next door neighbor, JT McCormick. You were so popular. I mean, we had almost 5,000 views, and nobody knew you were coming on that show. I can only imagine what's going to happen today. So we have been sitting here. Look at everybody popping on today. I'm so excited, y'all. I figured out how to get all my comments and everybody up on the screen. So good morning, Faye and Chris and Anthony and Dina and Leslie and Melissa. We're going to give you guys a couple more minutes to jump on here. This has been great. JT and I have been sitting here talking. You need to right now hit the share button. Hit the share button. If you want somebody, if you know somebody that needs to make it big, needs to succeed, everyone's tweeting it out and everything, it wants to succeed in 2019, that has ever been held back because of anything. Their story is nothing compared to the one that JT is about to tell you. Hit the share button. I need you guys to hit the share button now. This will be the best thing that you'll ever do for everybody in your tribe, everybody in your inner circle, everybody who works for you, everybody who works with you. JT, good morning.
How are you, ma'am?
How many cups of coffee have you had this morning?
I haven't had any.
Dude, I should have offered to make you one.
I did a little studying this morning.
What were you studying?
Every morning I study business, leadership, scale, growth.
Okay.
Right now I'm into why all that Sears has gone through, the debacle. I took the family, all 4 kids, Megan, and we went to the Sears over at Lakeline. And
Yeah.
it's sad.
It is sad. It is sad. I mean, think about the world's greatest retailer. But don't you think that all comes with it comes with a dinosaur that doesn't want to evolve?
I personally, and everybody's got an opinion, I believe bad leadership is where the demise of Sears comes from.
Okay, well, before we get into all of that, have you guys hit that share button yet? Are you sending this thing out? Come on, I'm telling you, this particular podcast, this show is going to change your life. It's going to change the trajectory of your career. So let me tell you a little bit about Mr. JT McCormick. Okay, all my car friends. You ever heard of this guy? David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. Have you surpassed Michelle Obama yet for the #1 book in the USA?
It's on it. He is. I mean, he's on the cusp of
taking over the former first lady.
He's number 2.
Okay,
and he's on the cusp of taking it over.
Okay, so JT is the CEO,
President and CEO
of Scibe Media, and that is the publishing company of many, many authors. But today, I mean, this is the hottest book on the market. And thank you, Brian Benstock, for sending this to me, by the way. I totally appreciate it. But we're not going to talk about Goggins today. We don't need to talk about Goggins today. So this is just one more of the gazillion feathers in your hat. Bye, Goggins. We're going to talk about Mr. JT McCormick. So I'm going to let you guys tell his story. Have you guys shared this out yet? I'm telling you guys, you just wait and see the things we're going to talk about today. But some of the things, so he wrote this book 18 months ago as a legacy, as something to leave his children, his grandchildren, and I'm going to let him tell you why he felt like he needed to read a legacy book. But the back of it says, I'm not a drug dealer, I'm not a rapper, I'm not an athlete, but I'm very successful. You mean I don't get to live next door to a a rapper, a drug dealer, or an athlete? Damn it.
I actually sucked at all 3.
You mean you can't rap?
No.
Oh my God.
I got nothing.
Well, living next door to me, you can hear my husband up on the drums rapping.
Yes.
Oh, bad. It's very bad. Bad white guy trying to rap. It's not good. Anyways, so I want you to tell everybody about you, because your story in its own, you've published Goggins' book, big deal. He's about to bump off the former First Lady of the United States for the #1 spot of all books. But tell us about you. I mean, I want you to open up with how you would open up a keynote speech. Have you guys shared this yet? You need to share this out. It's going to change your life.
So you asked me when we sat here why I put those 3 things back there. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a rapper. I'm not a drug dealer. Where I came from, I was raised in Dayton, Ohio. Where I came from, my background, those were my 3 options. And no one told me, bastards, no one told me about the 4th option, business. No one told me about entrepreneurship. No one said you could be a pharmaceutical rep, a wealth advisor. Those were the 3 options. And like I said, I sucked at all 3. So for me, I didn't have another option. And to your point, where do I start when I do the keynote? So my father was a black pimp.
Seriously.
Yeah, he was a real black pimp. And not like today where we've turned the word into a positive, pimp my ride, pimp my apartment. My father put women on a street corner. They sold their bodies. He took every dollar. And he was also a drug dealer. And then my mother was an orphan. She was raised in a 1950s institutional orphanage where the kids were routinely beat, neglected, so on and so forth. And when she turned 17 years old, they gave her a small suitcase, $20, and they said, good luck to you, there's a world. And so my last name, McCormick, I have no clue where it comes from. It was given to my mother when she was in the orphanage. She has no clue where or why she has this last name.
It's crazy. It's almost like they have this list of last names. Like, okay, baby A, you're getting this one. Baby B, you're getting this one.
So I've got this last name. I have no clue where it comes from. And short version, I was in juvenile 3 different times. I was sexually abused by one of my father's prostitutes at the age of 5, 6, 7. And so when I never graduated high school, and so I had to go to summer school to get my high school diploma, had to take the remedial courses, got my high school diploma, never went to college. And so that book was done for my children. I wanted them to know, okay, here's where Dad came from. I wanted to have a starting point.
So that they understood. And, you know, and I just have to bring you guys in. So, you know, if you guys are just now tuning in, I've got JT McCormick here, the president and CEO of Scibe Media, also the publisher of the almost #1 book in the USA. He's looking to bump off the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. And he's telling us the background, his story. It takes people sometimes a few minutes to wake up and get onto the show. But he's telling us the story of where he began. And he lives next door to me with 4 beautiful children, an amazing, beautiful wife, and a gated community. I mean, your life has changed a lot since you were that kid who grew up in Dayton, Ohio, who, you know, was given a last name that you didn't know where your last name came from, where his book says, I'm not a drug dealer, I'm not a rapper, I'm not an athlete, but I'm very successful. And when he got here today, I said, JT, why write that? Like, I wouldn't write that on the back of my book. So where did that come from? And you said that was really the only path at that point when you were growing up to probably get out of the inner city, right?
So I'm 100% convinced that we could change at least 30% of the lower economic community if they just knew the possibilities that were out there. So for me, I'm always asked, okay, JT, what would you tell a 15-year-old version of yourself? It's not always what you can tell someone, it's what you can show them.
Amen. There are so many people out there telling people what to do,
yes.
and then they don't walk their own talk.
Right.
It's like, I mean, there's just times, I can't even turn on to some people's stuff, because I'm like, you're such a fraud.
Yes. Fraud. You got a lot of people out there yelling things.
And here's the deal, you're a book publisher. You see the frauds come through all the time.
All the time.
It's like, I'm going to write this book that's fake news. I mean, I don't care what people say about the president. His whole fake news thing is legit. It's fake news on social media. It's fake news on some of the books we read. Seriously, right?
Oh, totally. It's like I said, people are yelling a lot of things, telling people, show someone something. So for me, now I go back and I mentor high-risk youth. And my whole point of doing that is so they can see, I can show them what's possible. They can actually feel, touch, have a conversation with me and know, wow, he came from our background. He came through some of the same struggles we came from. Okay, this is actually obtainable. If no one's ever told you how to become a pharmaceutical rep, how to show you to be one, how can you become one?
You know, and so many things, and we say this especially in the women's market, is that, you know, and why I believe that women are held back in the automotive industry is because if you can't see it, you can't be it.
Right.
Right. And so I would think it's the same thing with you. You know, you've got these kids and they're trapped in the inner city and they can't see it. So when they see somebody like you who's made their way out, who lives in a gated community, who's got this amazing, beautiful family, who's crazy successful, but it wasn't easy.
No.
Nobody handed it to you.
No.
You had to make a decision, which is what we talked about yesterday. You had to make a decision. You had to decide that you wanted something more out of life. So I want to take you there. When did you decide, like, I am not staying here anymore. I'm not going to be a pimp. I can't rap. You are an athlete. I mean, come on. I mean, geez, I wouldn't want to meet up with you in a dark alley.
I work out. I wouldn't go with athlete, but I work out. But when did I make the decision? When I was cleaning toilets after I graduated, when I got my high school diploma, and my mother said, great, you got 2 weeks to go find a job or you need to get out. And so I got a job working at Po Folks, of all places.
Po Folks.
Po Folks.
We cannot make that up.
And I shared this with Lisa. My mother and I, when we were poor, when you're poor, sometimes all you have is laughter. So we used to always make the joke to ourselves that we are so poor we can't afford the O and the R. We're just Po. The odds that my first job out of high school would be at a place called Po Folks all the places I could have gone, Burger King, McDonald's. No, I chose Po Folks. I guess I was just trying to stay with
I was
what
about
I was
to say,
comfortable
right?
with.
I mean, that was just your affinity. You're like, okay,
Right.
surely to God, Po Folks is going to hire this Po folk, right?
So I remember standing there. My role was to clean the toilets each day. And I remember looking at the toilets and saying to myself, okay, no matter what, if this is my job, they're going to be the cleanest toilets in San Antonio, Texas, all of Texas.
Okay, so I have to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that work ethic? Did you get it from your mom, or did you get it because you wanted to get the hell out of where you were living and your circumstances?
I believe
that
it was
is a work ethic.
It's a
to clean
combination.
toilets.
It's a combination of I was fortunate that for a time period I was kicked around to relative. I lived with an uncle, my Uncle Bobby. I saw a little bit of work ethic there. He taught me some things. And then also really from my mother. She was a single mom. She rode the bus everywhere. Regardless of how you see that, there's a work ethic there. There's a hustle. She did what she had to
Your
do to
mom
try to
does
feed
hustle.
me. Yes.
So JT's mom will come over. She comes and sees her beautiful grandkids, and so I know JT's mom, and she'll be out there, and she's painting the fences. And do you know that one day she said to my husband? So we live next door to each other. So our backyards, we've got a common fence, and so she says to my husband one day, she said, "This is JT's mom. Can I paint your fence?" And James was like, "Yeah, if you want to."
Yeah.
He wasn't sure whether he had to, give her a check, give her a glass of wine. He might have done both.
Right.
Yeah, because, so my husband and JT's mom, they're buddies because they like to work out in the yard. So I see your mom as a hustler.
My mom,
She's out there and she is just like working all the time.
I have on my at the office. There's a rent receipt from 1974, and it showed where my mother paid $10 on the rent because she couldn't afford the whole $145. And I keep that receipt on my desk to remind me, okay, this is where I came from. And I remember my mother sweeping out the stairway of the apartments we lived in so she could get a rent reduction. So I saw she was always willing to do, riding the bus everywhere, walking her son to school.
Now, do you have any brothers and sisters? We didn't talk about
I've got 23 half brothers and sisters. So I'm the
Dad.
only one by my mother.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was going to ask you.
I'm the only one by my mother.
Dad was a black pimp, and
Yes.
he's probably not somebody I would like very much.
Yes.
Because you know what? If you're going to be, at least pay the women. I mean, like, come on. That makes me madder than anything.
So many people, there's been a few people who've been offended by this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Not this crowd, though. They are big sellers.
So yes, my father
hard to
was
offend him.
He was a pimp, but I'm a big believer in taking lessons regardless of where they come from. I take the lessons and I find the positive in them. However I want to cut this up, I learned so much of my communication skills from my father. You have to be a masterful communicator to convince a woman to go stand on the corner, sell her body, and you get all the money. And so I took...
So let me ask you, was he a master communicator, or was he violent with them? And so
I'd be lying if I said I didn't see my father, abuse women, beat women. I would be totally lying. But I also watched how masterful he was at communicating.
Well, he was a manipulator.
Whatever you want to call him. I watched him communicate, and so you have an option. Do you want to take those communication skills and be negative with him, or do you want to be positive? I was fortunate that I wanted to go the positive route. So, I took the hard lessons in the chaos from where I come from. Matter of fact, you'll appreciate this. Just yesterday, Megan and I, my wife, I said, what do you consider the greatest gift your parents gave you from your childhood? And she said, they gave me a great childhood.
Yeah.
My greatest lessons from my childhood was being born mixed race. My father is black, mother is white, and being raised in total chaos. And the reason being is, as a mixed race individual, I learned early on at the age of 5, everyone's not going to like you.
Right.
So many people don't learn that lesson until middle school, high school, college. God forbid you don't learn it until your first career. Because seeing fierce, for my fierce, is crushing approval addiction. Yes.
And that's hard to do. You want everyone to like you.
Right.
And as a kid growing up, were there kids out there? Because if you guys could see, JT looked different as a child than he looks today. You were so cute. I'm sorry. I think the fro's got to come back. I think it is so cute. I can't even stand it. I want my little Eli to get a fro. He's got that curly hair, and it's the cutest thing in the world.
That was beneficial, though. I learned that lesson. Being called zebra, Oreo cookie, chocolate vanilla swirl, half breed. I learned all those things, but I also learned early, okay, the world, not everyone is going to like you. So I've not spent my time worrying about trying to make everyone like me.
So like if your next door neighbor doesn't like you, you don't care.
I don't care.
I'll just go to the other next door neighbor.
I'll go to and I treat sales the same way. Okay, you don't want to buy anything from me? I'll call the next person.
Right, next.
And keep going.
So let's talk about that. So you were raised in this incredible odds against you environment. You had a job scrubbing toilets. When did you elevate from that? And you're like, okay, I really don't want to scrub other people's toilets. I mean, come on, let's call it. Nobody wants to scrub toilets. That to me, but I think it's a good starting point because I think it makes you learn at very young what you don't want to do.
Right.
And I'm not taking away from people that do it because I think everyone's got to start somewhere and someone's got to scrub the toilets. My housekeeper quit on me 2 weeks ago after 20 years. I'm scrubbing toilets now. That's what I do. It is what it is. They got to be scrubbed.
Yeah, I'm not above anything. I believe who you are when no one's watching is who you are when everyone's watching. And some people put on a fake show and they want to be this person when everyone's watching. But when you walk out of the restroom, let's say you go to a restaurant and there's a couple of paper towels on the floor. Most people, not all, will just walk out of the restroom. I'll stop, pick them up, put them in the trash can. Why not? One, it took me 2 seconds to do it.
Right.
In my above, picking up paper towels and putting them in the trash can. So I remember where I came from. I remember I was the person who had to pick up those paper towels.
Right.
Just like this. If you're going to give me this, okay, I'm going to go on a rant.
Let me go.
Whenever you stay at a hotel, here's the thing that blows me away. You and I have done this. Almost everyone on here has done this. When you go to a restaurant, and let's say you go to an expensive restaurant and you spend $250. You leave a 20% tip. That's a $50 tip that you're leaving to the person who brings out your food.
Sure.
That's all they did. I'm not belittling what they did, but they brought out your food. They took your order, they brought out your food. We stay in hotels and most people don't leave a tip for the person. I do as well.
I do.
But most people do not leave a tip for the person who cleans your toilets.
I know.
The toilet you sat on, the bed you laid in. Most people don't leave. Leave $5.
Yep.
$5 will change some of those people's lives.
I actually leave 10.
Yes.
But I will tell you, sometimes people don't know what they don't know. And I had a friend and a mentor tell me about 2 years ago when I started traveling all the time. And she said, do you tip? And I was like, why would I tip housekeeping? That's weird. Like, am I supposed to do that? And she's like, absolutely. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So those of you out there that travel, yes, $5 or $10 on somebody who's making $8 to $10 an hour.
Yes.
Game changer.
Game changer.
And that might be something that they're able to take and then they realize, you know what, there's more to life than this. And it probably redeems their view of humanity, right?
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't it? I think it would for me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. There's when you really sit back and you think about it, these are the people who clean the toilets that you sit on.
Right.
To leave them $5,
right?
But we leave $50 in a $250 bill at a restaurant. One of my things that I'll always remember, I was speaking at a conference and there were about 700 people, and I said that on stage. And I remember the GM, assistant manager, whatever, made a comment to the conference coordinator that what happened because there was a flood of tips that were left for housekeeping.
You were a one-speaker economic stimulus package for
that was something I was so proud of. I was like, wow, it just changed the game for these people.
That's good, though.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, JT, though, those people, they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Now, like you're on a cruise ship, you're at a resort, they're like, hey, leave a tip. Like, it's obvious, like leave a tip. But if you're staying at the Best Western, she deserves, or he, typically she, deserves that tip. And that might be what she uses to buy her family dinner that night.
Yes. Yeah, an ice cream for a child.
Yeah,
I put myself into the situations and I think about, what would $5 have done for my mother? Yeah. And that's how I look at it.
Well, she would have been able to put 15 on the rent versus 10 to start. Okay, so you did that, and then from there you went to
payday loans.
Hey, for all of us in the car business that people want to judge us out there, there's something officially lower than being a car salesman. And I'm just kidding because I was a car salesman and I love car salesmen. But, just the stigma. And then when JT told me that today, I'm like, okay, you just made it. Payday loans.
Payday loans. And not only payday loans, we were giving loans to people $50 to $1,000. So that kind of tells you the economic community that you were serving. And I remember I loved it. I got promoted to the Pacific Northwest. I was 23 years old, and the gentleman gave me the opportunity to be the vice president of the Pacific Northwest. I was 23. And when I got there, what intrigued me about him is he only had a high school diploma. And now he had 400 of these offices.
God.
So when I got to Oregon, I had 3. I stayed there 3 years. When I left, I had 8. I had bought out 2 competitors and then opened 3 more. And that's when I really learned that, okay, I'm pretty decent at sales. But unfortunately, I was selling people into this vicious cycle of you would come in to make a payment.
How hard is it, though, come on. How hard is it to sell somebody who comes in that needs a payday loan? Like, you need a loan, I got money.
Here's the thing.
Sale was just made.
That part wasn't hard.
Right, but it's going to be 29% interest daily.
The sale was actually when a person would come in to make their payment, you didn't want them to pay it off. You wanted them to stay in the circle. So I would say, hey, Lisa, why don't you keep that $30 payment in your pocket? I'll renew your loan and you won't have another payment due for an additional 30 days. Well, if you're strapped for cash.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was like Merry Christmas. Let's do it.
I'm going to keep that money in my pocket, not pay until, 30 more days. That was the sell.
So at this point, the loan's increasing, the interest is accruing, and
fees
now these
start
people...
over.
How'd you sleep at night? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it was, for
no judgment over here.
So
because people needed them.
Hey, I put this.
They still need them.
It's in the book. I even said this. The reason why I got out of that business was there was a mom that showed up one day, and she had a mixed race little boy with her. He had curly hair, and they looked like me. They looked like my mom, and it looked like me. And it hit me hard that, wow, I'm keeping these people in this cycle. Yeah, it's legal. It's a legal business. Oregon has no interest rate laws. And you can even garnish people's wages if they don't pay. Here in Texas, you can't do that. Right. Only income tax and child support. But there you could garnish people's wages.
So you just destroy their lives if for some reason they can't make that $30 payment this week.
Lisa, we had people who had loans at all of our offices. And just stuck. They would make one payment here and refinance to go over here and make the next payment.
But again, I mean,
it's a legal service.
Well, it's legal, and then number 2, there are people that need that to survive because they don't make a living wage, and it's because they're stuck in a circumstance that if you can't see it, you can't be it. All right, so I'm going to take you past the payday loans, and then I'm going to take you into your next sales job. Because now this is a guy, again, which we're going to get there because we're going to talk about it. Hopefully you guys are getting, first of all, are you sharing this out? Are you sharing this out? Because I'm telling you, there are people out there that need to see this message. You might need to hear this message. Are you stuck in a dead-end deal in 2018 and you want to go to the next level in 2019? Yeah, there's no reason you can't. Right? Because he did not make it as a drug dealer, a pimp, or a rapper, or an athlete. But he did end up becoming the CEO of a publishing company that is publishing the almost #1 book in America, about to take Michelle Obama out, Goggins. So, there is hope for everybody out there. And for everybody who's watching this, somebody who needs to hear this message.
So real quick, there's not hope, there's belief. So there's 3 words that I will not use in my vocabulary. Hope, wish, and luck. When I was a kid and I would hope there was something to eat when I got home, it never produced anything. It never produced, it didn't do anything. So the hell with hope. Wish, when I would wish there was food in the refrigerator, it never produced anything. In luck, well, we all know that's just BS. In fact, someone said to me the other day, the lady who won the $700 million Powerball, oh my gosh, she's so lucky. I said, no, she bought a ticket.
That's right. She took action. She executed.
Right. So I'm big on belief because I believe belief forces you to take action. If you believe you can get out of your circumstances, then you have to do something. But if you just sit back and say, oh, I wish I had a big house. Well, you can wish all day. It doesn't produce anything.
I just talked about that yesterday. All these memes that are going around Facebook, all this stuff like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Then freaking do it.
Do it.
Then just do it.
Yeah.
It's like, Nike, the greatest thing ever, the Just Do It campaign. It's in we talked about it in my new book about building a movement, about how, Nike built a movement, and the Just Do It, which is what puts people into forward action. You don't say just do it and go, I'm going to go buy some tennis shoes today.
Right.
It puts you into the mindset of action. And then when you start taking action, you start moving your body. Then all of a sudden, now you need a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm big on belief.
I'm not a big Nike fan right now, but I'm just saying it is a brilliant strategy and a campaign in the way that they built a movement around their product.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
hope, wish, luck. I don't do them.
Okay, good. All right, well, good to know. So I'm not even going to go there. I was going to say something. I was about to say the book that you're about to take off of the #1 best-selling list. There was a lot of hope there, but I guess you're like, yeah. Goggins doesn't do hope. I'm going to bet.
No.
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 No. We're going to have to talk about Goggins because you got a whole Goggins church sitting on here. I'm not sitting this is the church of David Goggins. I'm not joking you, but we're not talking about Goggins right now. Okay, I want you to fast forward. Okay, so you did the payday loans. You realized that wasn't for you. Where did you go next?
Got into mortgage. I got back to. I was in Portland, Oregon. Got back to San Antonio, Texas. Had no job. Needed a job, and this is old school. Sent out my resume to a mortgage company. I remember I read the ad and I thought, that sounds interesting.
You didn't have a LinkedIn back then?
No, it wasn't.
You're JT's like the king of LinkedIn. You guys have got to follow JT. Like one of his articles was like how I fired somebody and it was the best day of their life. And I thought I have to read this. He's a book publisher. So of course the headline was good. The article wasn't as good as the headline. No. But it was good. Follow JT on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
All right, so back to the mortgage.
Got into mortgage. A lady gave me an opportunity based on my background in payday loans, and she taught me loan processing.
Yeah.
From loan processing, I got into loan origination. From loan origination, I went to work for Countrywide. Yes, Countrywide.
I love Countrywide. You guys all know that we own Austin Mortgage for 23 years, so we
yes.
My husband still runs our mortgage company.
I shared this with Lisa. So I got into. I was an account rep at Countrywide, and then from there, I had learned everything mortgages, mortgage-backed securities, packaging them, selling them off
because Countrywide was a true conduit into Fannie and Freddie, whereas we sell all of our stuff on a line.
Right.
So we package it, sell it to a Countrywide, where Countrywide is a direct originator of mortgage loans selling directly to Fannie and Freddie. Way too big of a financial services lesson today, but there's a lot of meat behind that because when you work for the God at the time, Countrywide, you really did learn. I mean, you were not a mortgage broker. You really learned every aspect of the secondary markets.
Everything,
yeah,
everything. And matter of fact, I shared this with Lisa. One of my favorite stories.
You must have gotten here at 5 a.m. this morning because
I know
it seems like we just talked about everything.
I talk fast.
So do I. It's scary.
When my book came out. A lady came up to me and she said, "Hey, I read your book and you talk about Countrywide in there." And I said, "Yeah, some of my greatest memories of my career were at Countrywide. I love the founder, Angelo Mazzello, blah, blah, blah." Went on and on and on. And she goes, "So you don't have any negative thoughts on Countrywide?" I go, "No, not a one." I go, "In fact, I think it's BS that our society blames Countrywide for the demise of the credit crisis." It wasn't just Countrywide. It was so many people.
It was Bill Clinton opening it up to
and here's
loans that shouldn't have
I'm not going to go off on a tangent here.
I know,
but there's also personal accountability.
Agreed.
No one ever forced you to sign those papers, and everyone blamed the banks, Countrywide, so on and so forth. But there's also personal accountability that you as an individual.
Which is why our company did not get into Austin Mortgage Associates. If you need a mortgage, my husband. That's why we did not get into subprime lending because back in the day, there was just something in our spirit and our gut. It's like, you know what? You don't pay attention.
Right.
You don't deserve a mortgage.
Yep.
And so that was kind of a thing for us. And so we were able to do over $100 million a year without playing in that subprime market. And because of that, we're still in business.
Well, I was going to say, because of that, you're still in business.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, this ended up being the daughter of Angelo Mazzello. Her name's Megan.
What are the chances?
What are the chances? And I had the incredible honor to fly out to California, sit in Angelo Mazzello's home. He took me through the history of Countrywide, took pictures with him.
But this was right after your book came out.
Right after the book came out.
And when you got there, the book was on his table.
The book was on his coffee table. It was
because he's like the one guy in America that's not blaming me.
Yeah, right. The one guy that actually loves me. Yeah, no,
I didn't tank the USA.
I still have a love affair with Angelo Mazzello. His company, him.
Is Countrywide still in business?
No.
You would think I would know
that.
They're owning a mortgage company.
Bank of America absorbed them. And
okay.
As you know, Countrywide, as it was in the past, it's gone. There's nothing there anymore.
Because Countrywide was that was...
They were the largest home lender in the world at one point.
Yeah, and we were a reseller of Countrywide for a long time. Countrywide was really big for FHA, for Govies. FHA, VA, things like that.
Yes.
Okay, so
I went from Countrywide... Then,
all the way through that from processor, which is, so all of you out there that when you get all the phone calls, I need more pay stubs, I need this, that's not enough, I need a letter.
That's where I started.
Oh, you hate the processor, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where I started,
Yeah.
which also helped in sales.
Oh, it does, because you understand the guts and the bones of a mortgage, how to put it, how to structure it, and get the deal done with an underwriter. Yeah.
So went from countrywide, and then the credit crisis hit. So along the way, I had self-taught myself investing, how to turn $100 into seven figures, so on and so forth. And right before the credit crisis, I ended up broke. I had made over $1 million in my career, and I was broke.
Now, were you married to Megan?
No.
Okay.
So Megan and I have been married 7 years now.
7 years and 7 kids.
Yeah, no. 4 kids.
Every time I turn around, his wife is so beautiful and his children are beautiful, but I'm like, Megan, are you pregnant again? Kind of like my boy Glenn Lundy. He just, you guys just keep having those babies.
Yes.
But they're beautiful, so how do you not keep having them?
We made a joke that on our Christmas card, if you received a Christmas card from us for the last 4 years, every year there was a new child in the card. Yeah. So, but we're done. Game is over. Like literally, game is over. Game got fixed last Thursday. Game is literally over.
A lot of information to happen. Yes.
Game is over.
Yes.
But so I ended up broke and no money. Had to borrow money from my stepdad and my best friend to pay rent. And I remember one of the...
So back up, how did you burn through $1 million? Because it isn't bad habits. I know that.
At the time, it really was. And I say this respectfully. When we see in this country, we talk about how lottery winners end up broke in 5 years. And we talk about how athletes end up broke 5 years after they get out of whatever league that they're in. It's the reason being is, and people are like, oh my God, how's that happen? Well, if you've never had money.
Right. You don't know how to manage it.
You don't know how to manage it.
Yep.
And so here I had this money. No one had ever taught me how to manage money. And I had learned some of the things along the way, but then I was taking massive risk with the money as well. And so got caught, broke, back in my apartment by myself. And it was I call it a come to God moment. It wasn't a come to Jesus. It was a come to God moment.
Right.
What I found that I had made a lot of money. Now I didn't have any. I was left with my character. Who do you want to be at this point? I couldn't hold a relationship. I was a monster in relationships, horrible in relationships. And I could not hold one.
Why were you horrible?
No one ever taught me how to have a relationship. What was my model? My dad.
Right.
I know. My mom was a single mom. I never saw really anyone treat my mom well, and so I did not know how to have a relationship. And I believe
it goes back to you have to see it to be it. Whether it's in your business, your career, to be a parent, to be in a relationship. If for those that lack the role models out there, that's why role models and mentoring is so important. That's going to be my plug for that. But it's true.
Yes. And so, even now I find myself, maybe I make a joke with my wife or whatever, but
who's the sweetest human ever.
Well, but I'm now the model for what my children are going to see. What's a good relationship? What should it be? So I have to check myself at times, say, ooh, probably shouldn't have made that joke. Whatever, even though her and I joke hard at each other, we need to do that when it's just her and I, and not in front of the kids.
All those little babies, 2 boys and 2 girls. Oh,
and so especially for my girls, I want them to know.
Well, Ava's going to be president someday.
That is her goal.
She's a rock star.
That is her goal.
Ava is bigger than life. We walk outside and Ava's like, rah! I mean, she's,
Yeah, that's
and everyone in the neighborhood follows Ava. I've noticed that. Like, she is the leader of the pack of all the kids. We live in how many houses in our little gated community? 20?
Yeah.
Maybe 20. And everybody's got kids but us. We've got grandkids, so that's fun. But everyone's got kids but us. And so there's just like this pack of kids that run around the neighborhood. But Ava is the leader when she's out there. They all fall in line behind Ava.
So every day.
Well,
every day I ask both of them, Ava and Jackson, those are my 2 oldest. I go, what are your 3 things? I'm smart, I'm great, I'm a leader. They have to say that. And then I say, okay, what is hard work? And they have to say, hard work is greatness. I want them to know hard work, work ethic. There is no success without sacrifice, period.
Yep. Write that one down, everybody. No success without sacrifice.
None.
It's so true, though, because especially when you look at this generation.
Yes.
I mean, they are... And I don't want to knock millennials because I am a fan of millennials. I mean, my millennial sales team broke the world sales record, so God bless them. But, they didn't do it because they were chasing the money or the glory. They were doing it because they felt like they were going to be part of the revolution of the auto industry and shine a different light on this generation. But it is, there is an entitlement to younger people, because none of them want to work as hard as their parents do.
Well, here's part of I've said. So we've got almost 50 people at Scibe, and many of them are 33 and under. So we've got a lot of what are called millennials. Here's what I have found. A lot of it is not their fault. And what I mean by that, they've grown up in an Instagram society where they see the picture of the house, the cars, the money, and it's supposed to be that easy. Well, no, it's not. Then the other piece is this as well.
Have you paid your property tax bill yet for this year?
Good God.
My husband's like, okay, we're moving.
But now here's the positive how I look at that. Thank God I'm blessed that I can pay those property taxes, and I live in a place that actually I can afford to do that.
Yes.
So here's the other piece with millennials as well. A lot of the things they do, where I cringe at the term millennial, a lot of the things they do are just young. I see I'm like, I did that when I was young.
Right.
I did that. It's youth. It's not so much the millennial term. It's just dumb youth. I did dumb things when I was young.
I did dumb things too, but I was also willing to do whatever it took to survive. So, I sold cars. I ate top ramen if I had to.
Yes.
I never called home and asked my parents for money. Like I was going to survive no matter what. And I think what's missing with this generation, they don't have that survival instinct as much. I mean, they more have that, well, hey, something went wrong, Mom and Dad, I need money. Or, hey, I'm going to go build a YouTube account so I can become a YouTube star. I don't know.
So let me ask you this, Lisa. Do you feel that that's millennial, or do you feel that that's our society? Because I feel that our society, somewhere along the way, lost its work ethic.
I do too.
I don't just throw that on the
7 days a week. So I sold my dealership so I'd have a life. Well, I have a life. I love my life, but I've got so much business, so many clients. So I'm working more and harder at a higher level than I ever did running car dealerships. But because success doesn't sleep.
No. Well, and so here's a big one. So you got, give me 20 seconds to rant.
Okay, go.
Right now, we live in a society where we preach this work-life balance. And what I find interesting is everyone's quick when you say work-life balance, they talk about work. Don't work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Put your emails down at night. Tim Ferriss is big on the 4-day work week.
Which is also his client.
No, we didn't do his book. He's friends with Tucker, our co-founder. We didn't do his book though. What I find interesting is when someone says work-life balance, they go straight to work. No one ever talks about life balance. See, people want to talk about how they binge watch Game of Thrones on Friday, from Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. till Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. They want to talk about how, and here's our society. We will put on camera the person who stands in line 24 hours overnight at the Apple store to get the new iPhone that does 2 new things than the thing that you already have does. And we put you on camera to show that you did this. But when's the last time anybody spent 24 hours researching their financial future, their 401k? When's the last time somebody binge studied their investment portfolio?
Right.
So why I cringe at that work-life balance, everyone's quick to talk about the work balance. No one's quick to talk about life balance. You can't go and eat like garbage and then complain that, oh my God, I want to lose weight. It's a balance overall. It's life balance, period. Work is a big part of your life.
It needs to be.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
But no one wants to talk about the life balance over here. We want to travel. We want to binge watch. We want to, we'll spend hours researching hotels.com to save $50 on a weekend trip to Vegas. But when's the last time somebody spent that much time on their financial future and their investment portfolio?
To make $50.
Yes.
Right? And, Cardone says this, that you can't save your way to success. I just saw it the other day on Twitter, and I was like, GC, that was a good one. I mean, it's true. I mean, you can't save your way to success. You have to, you have to use your money. Right.
Yes.
To your point, versus spending 2 hours on hotels.com to figure out how to save it, figure out how to go make it.
Right. Spend
2 hours, figure out how to make $50 versus saving $50. Because if you spend 2 hours, you're going to make a lot more than $50.
Exactly.
And then that $50 you're trying to save on hotels.com, don't need it. Because you got money.
So
you got money.
That's where I feel like it's not so much just the millennials. I feel like our society as a whole, the work ethic, the work ethic and our values are gone. Even how so much of our society looks down upon cleaning toilets or flipping burgers. I'm not doing that. And
how do you feel about? And I'm happy about it because I believe every human needs a living wage. We were just, I don't even know where I was recently, probably New York or California, but they just raised minimum wage to $14 an hour in a lot of states. And I was like, yes. And these entrepreneurs are like, I can't stay in business. I'm like, well, you can't. I mean, really? You really don't want to pay people to pay them a living wage? So I think as a society, I think we are pulling forward and trying to, and I don't know if someone can live on $14 an hour, but we're at least making progress as a society. Okay, so speaking of progress, we got to make progress on this show. I want to go into your software. Oops. I want to go into your software business because I think that's where you really started. I mean, mortgages was great. JT and I were talking about it. We both made a lot of money in the mortgage industry. But back when it was easy, it's not as easy anymore. But, my family still does mortgages in case you need one. Okay. But that being said, so you transitioned from mortgages. I mean, there's the total crater, the breakdown of the mortgage industry. So now you're like, oh, crap, what am I going to do now? So you chameleon what was next? The caterpillar. My next door neighbor was a caterpillar.
Actually selling a service called PEO, and it was benefits, payroll, workers' comp. And I sold the service. Took me 17 months. I sold it to an entrepreneur that owned a software company. Sold him the service. 30 days after I closed him, he calls me up and he goes, hey, would you like to come work for me? He owned a enterprise software company. I was 38 at the time, and I told him, said...
Back before software as services, the SaaS companies.
Yes.
So my daughter works for one. Global company. Back before that was kind of a buzz, right?
So
that had to be a little scary.
Oh, well,
it's like, what is SaaS?
Here was my feed. I said to him, I go, I'm 38. I go, that's a young person's career. I go, I know nothing about software. And he said, yeah, but you know how to sell and you know how to follow up because it took me 17 months.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there. So it doesn't matter whether you are selling yourself to get for your first job at, is it Po' Boy? No.
Po folks.
Po folks. You're selling yourself to get a job originating mortgages. You're selling yourself as a book. When you're out every day trying to sell, the books, whatever it is. Selling is selling, right?
Yeah.
And so the guy saw that in you. He's like, I don't care what your past. I don't care what you've done. If you sold me, and I'm going to bet the guy's probably a pretty tough sale. If you can sell, you can close, and you can follow up. Okay. Period. End of story. If you can do those three things, there's nothing in life you can't do, and there's no cap on your income.
No.
I mean, the greatest business in the I would never ever have a job that I couldn't sell something.
No. Sales.
If someone said, Lisa, I'm going to pay you $1 million salary, I'd be like, yeah, I need to see the commission plan.
Right.
Because if you're willing to pay me $1 million, I'm worth 2 to 3. Right. I'll go sell it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So I came in with him, and there were 13 of us. I sat in a storage closet and made my sales calls. I was calling Fortune 1000 chief information officers and directors trying to sell our service. And technically, I didn't know what I was selling, but I knew, okay, goal number 1, who is my target audience? Who do I need to get a hold of? Okay, that's the audience.
Take notes.
Yeah. Goal number 2. What do I need to say once I get them on the phone? So I figured out, okay, if you're a Fortune C-suite executive, a Fortune 1000 company, good God, do you know how many emails and calls that you will probably have coming in each day? So I had to figure out, okay, what's my subject line going to be of my email? What's the body of my email going to be? How am I going to cold call this person? And real quick, I keep seeing this going around on LinkedIn. There's this competition of what's better, social selling or cold call.
What would you say?
Both.
Both.
Why is that a debate? I'm doing all of it.
Right.
Whatever I can do to get in the door and make the sale, make the close, damn it, I'm doing that. I'm not picking one or the other.
Well, and because you think about like the different touch points for a person, right? Like, I get an email from you, and then like all of a sudden now for you, like all your stuff for me is popping up on LinkedIn, which it didn't before. And it's probably because now we're friends. I don't know what it is, but I think there's multiple touch points because people are we're so sensory overload. If I see your name in 14 different places, all of a sudden I am going to start thinking that you're an expert.
It's right? Okay. Oh, I love that because that is exactly what I did with the software company. I'm going to give you the formula. This is how it happened.
Share it out right now. Share.
Here's what I did. I sat in that storage closet. We made our cold calls. I would, on a Monday, January's coming, January 1st, I would send you an email. subject line, body of the email. Then I would also FedEx you to where my FedEx would get there on a Thursday. And I would send the exact same email on a piece of letterhead in the FedEx. Here's why. Oh. If you walk up to your door this evening and you've got Eli in one hand, good luck with that, as big as he is. If you've got Eli in one hand,
maybe Cameron,
and you've got groceries in the other, and there's a FedEx on your door, you're trying to figure out which one you're going to put down first because you want to open the FedEx.
Oh,
everybody
for sure.
opens a FedEx.
Okay, good point. See that, guys? FedEx.
Everyone opens a FedEx. And so, and again, this is enterprise software. So you're not going to make a close on the first call or the first touch point. That's why I got excited when you said that. This is a long-term sales cycle. So I would email you. Then I would send my FedEx the same day, so to get there on Thursday. I would cold call you on Tuesday.
The following Tuesday?
No, the very next week. So Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
I would call. So
email, phone call, FedEx on Thursday.
And then here's on Wednesday, I would also email you again with anticipation that my FedEx is going to be there on Thursday. So I wanted you to keep seeing my name all the way through. And then here's the other point. And I've gotten pushback from salespeople on this, but damn it, we built an incredible software company, so it worked. When I would leave voicemails, I would not say, "Hi, Lisa, this is JT from XYZ." I would say, "Hey, Lisa, I just want to make sure you got the information that I sent over. Here's why." If I said this is JT from XYZ, delete, you don't care.
Right.
But if I said I want to make sure you received the information I sent over, now you're like, "Oh, damn, what did I miss?
Right.
Who is
FOMO.
this? Oh my, now you're listening with intent, waiting for me to get to the end of this voicemail. And when I say JT with XYZ, it's stuck in your head now.
Right.
So now,
on top of the fact, I'm probably talking to somebody about putting a restraining order on you at this point.
Hey, do what you got to do. But damn it, I'm going to keep closing.
You know where I live. You know my email address. You know my phone number.
Yes.
What else do you know about me?
But here's the thing. Now
it's impressive, though.
You heard the voicemail. You heard my name. Now the email rings a bell. Right. JT with XYZ.
Yeah.
Then the FedEx shows up and you're like, good God, JT with XYZ. God forbid you were in the same city as me. I would come by your office and I would leave. So I wouldn't ask for you. I would leave something at the front for you. A card, a letter, whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there because that is amazing. And don't you think that the human touch has been lost? I mean,
totally.
So many people now, it's like, okay, they're one and done. Oh, well, Lisa, I know that. It's like, well, Lisa, I texted them and they didn't text me back. Or I sent them an email. Like, really? Like, this is restraining order kind of stuff.
Yes.
But that's what you want. I mean, I had somebody tell me a long time ago, a mentor of mine, they're like, you need to follow up until one of two things happens. They say yes.
Or F off.
Yeah. And all of a sudden now you're getting a letter from the sheriff's department because they filed a restraining order against you or blocked you, right?
Yes.
Whatever it may be. I mean, that prospect, they are expensive to procure. I mean, you think about what you guys spent just on FedEx alone.
Well, so I remember I went to the owner and I said, can I have $10,000 to send FedExes? And he goes, what? I think the most we had done in revenue was maybe $3 million for the year. And he goes, what? $10,000? I go, look, our price point is this. What do you care if I spend? I go, matter of fact, I guarantee you, if we don't close some business from me sending out these FedExes, I'll pay the $10,000. And so he opened it up, let me do it.
Yeah, I'd have been the same way. I'd have been like, hey.
My first 9 months I was there, why I share this with you all, the first 9 months I was there, I closed in 9 months a little over $1.4 million in business in 9 months. And the company as a whole had done a little over $3 million in its existence. Annually.
So there is something to the fortunes in the follow-up.
Yes.
Literally, like that, you're coining the phrase, the fortune is in the follow-up.
Follow-up, yes. The follow-up is everything. To your point, I hear so many people say, oh, I sent 3 emails and I made a couple cold calls. So? And here's, this was my personal belief. If you've followed up or reached out 1 to 3 times, you suck. You're horrible. 4 to 6, you're fair at best. 7 to 9, okay, you're starting to get into the pretty good area. 10 to 12, okay, I would say you're good. That's a good.
And let's call
13 to 15, you were great.
You're great, and you're going to sell something.
Yes.
You're going to sell something. How many times, I even look at the retargeting ads on social media and Neiman seems to follow me around. I don't know how that happens. But anyways, I look at them and the minute I've looked at something, then it follows me around. It follows me around. And then finally, like after the 14th day, I'm like, you know what? God must want me to have this. So that being said, how many times in business, ladies and gents out there, that you've looked at something, you've and whatever, and it has taken multiple touch points, and at some point you're like, okay, I give in.
Yes,
this is meant to be. I'm supposed to have it.
Or you remember the person. That's
exactly.
All I wanted you to do was remember me.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many times I would have a C-suite executive follow up with me from something that I sent 6 months ago.
Right.
But because I was consistent, I would tell people, prospecting is like going to the gym. You're not going to go to the gym and lose 30 pounds today.
Darn it.
It's going to take time to lose it. Prospecting is the same way.
So what is the best way for everyone out there? There's all these CRMs out there, and I think they're great, and I've, worked with every one of them, from Salesforce to ADP to Reynolds, all of them, Ray, all of them. That being said, what is the best way for a salesperson to, besides their CRM, or do you live and die by the CRM?
It is a great place to house the information. When I was at the software company, we used Salesforce, and It was a great place to house the information especially with as many people as you're prospecting. Who followed up with you? What do you remember?
Setting
from this
it up
person?
on a tickler system on some sort of funnel where you're dripping information to them.
Exactly.
So how do you feel about the drips that are non-personal drips?
I hate them.
Oh, you hate them? Okay.
I hate them.
Because that's a quick way to get deleted or unsubscribed.
As a matter of fact, it's even worse for me because I have two initials in my name, JT. I know when you've put me on something that's auto because it's a small t instead of a capital in JT when you put me on an auto system.
Really?
Yes.
My son's name is JT, so just so you know.
Yes. So it won't capitalize both letters because it's automated. So it reads the system is set up that it will give a lowercase. That's what I was looking for. T.
Okay,
so I know immediately you just put me on a drip.
Okay. So for those of you out there, drips, nothing. And I'll tell you, my husband's really good at this. He doesn't do any of that. Like, he's still, very process driven. But he will do mortgages for people he talked to 3 years ago. I'm like, I would have blown those people out the door forever ago. And he's like, And old-fashioned tickler system, right? The old days, that's what we did. We didn't have CRM.
Your card.
You write the handwritten card, which I talked about with Bob Berg, very dear friend of mine, the Go-Giver. I don't know if you know Bob or not, but anyways, the handwritten card after you meet somebody, the human touch cannot be lost. The paper calendars. I have a calendar on my phone, but I have a paper calendar. And, and it's like on the 15th, I need to call dent, 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 dent. Right. Even though I've got a CRM, there's something to that, right? And I think I
love a lot of the automation. I don't want to knock the automation, but to your point,
it cannot take the place of the high touch, because that's what will separate you from the competition. Because everyone else is counting on the automation. They're all counting on Salesforce, a drip campaign, to do their job. And then they're wondering why they're not producing at a level that people like us produce at, because we still, do I do automation? Yes. In fact, every one of you got an email from me this morning. Every Friday morning, my newsletter goes out. That's automated. But at the end of the day, I'll be on the phone all day today with all of my clients.
Totally.
I'm not going to send them an email, hey, you just spent $100,000 with me. Here's my email. Like, no, they expect me to get on the phone and make the phone call or to follow up.
It's right now, people who won't do the old school things, send the handwritten card, make the phone call.
Do you see all my cards? See the boxes of cards right there?
Yeah.
You guys, I send handwritten cards.
Send the old school things are the things that actually, in my opinion, separate you the most now. Because everyone,
old school and new school put together.
Yes.
You need Salesforce. You need your CRMs. You need, pull back on the drips. I don't want to say take them away depending on your industry. Automotive industry, I know we use drips quite a bit. Probably mortgage. But in high touch consulting, or the big kind of contracts you and I put together, I could no more send my prospects a drip than the man on the moon. It is it's usually a phone call.
You said the old school versus new school. Someone said this to me in my early 20s, and I pushed back on it then, and I still push back. Someone said, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the dumbest, sorry, I know I can't use foul language, the dumbest thing I had ever heard. And so I've lived my whole life, well, I was going to say dumb as shit, but I've spent my whole life was work harder, or work smarter, not harder. No, do both.
Do both.
Work harder at working smarter. That's how I've spent my whole career.
Right, and that's why you're successful. Okay, so so the software sales, you crushed it, all of that.
Ended up becoming president of the software company.
Oh, okay, well, there's a big part to the story. Okay,
I'll be fair, though. I was surrounded by incredibly talented software engineers that my role was to go sell and get in. They had to execute on whatever I sold.
Yeah, but without you selling it, those engineers would be like,
yeah, well, and so
I
learned a big lesson as well. You're right. I was toxic at first because I used to say that. I made the comment once, I don't care if you can launch the space shuttle from your phone. If I don't give you a space shuttle, you can't do anything.
That's right.
But here was the key. I realized in that selling career that I needed them as much as they needed me.
And how did you realize that? Was there some alienation at some point?
No, there wasn't any alienation. What I realized, what made me realize it, I was outselling and I had a person who was willing to sign a big contract with us and we couldn't fulfill on it because we didn't have enough people. And that hit me that, oh, wow, I need them as much as they need me.
Right.
And
so
really,
basically you're out selling sunshine and now all of a sudden you need this dev team and it's like, it's not built. So I can sell it all day long, but if the product's not ready to come to market, then that was a big waste of time for you.
Totally.
And the company.
Yes.
And a waste of resources and FedEx bills.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And so that was really my introduction into culture and realizing that, okay, there's a team. Because, us in sales, we're selfish. And if someone says they're not, they're lying. But in sales, you're selfish because it's how do I hit my number? How do I ring that bell? How do I get my name on the board? How do I close commission? Blah, blah, blah.
And I'm going to tell you, as it should be.
Yeah, exactly. But I realized that's when the moment hit me that I realized, wow, we need each other.
You need each other. Yeah, and that's hard to do. And there's always a struggle. I don't care what industry you're in, whether it was, for me, the financial services business or the automotive industry, there's always a struggle between sales and operations.
Yes.
I don't care what the industry is. It's sales and operations. It's operations going, well, if it wasn't for us doing this, and you wouldn't be able to sell anything. It's like, hey, wait a minute, chicken or the egg here. We don't sell it, you don't have a job. And of course, I've been on both sides. I've been on sales and operations.
It takes both.
It takes both. Yeah, I didn't love operations near as much as I loved selling, but when I became the leader, then I had to manage both sides of the fence, and it gave me because you do need both sides. Okay, so you're president of that company. You guys are crushing it.
We're selling. We grow. We ended
My 15 minutes of fierce is 1 hour, but I told everyone we were going long today. I told everybody we were doing that.
We took the company from 13 people and in that storage closet on a metal chair with offices in Austin, Houston, Dallas, and Monterrey, Mexico. And again, ended up becoming the president. And God knows I made mistakes as a first-time president of a software company, a president who didn't write code. And so, learned a lot, great learning experience. Did that for 5 years. Went and started doing my book. Met the two